Hello everyone. This video is especially tailored for our realtor partners. Our company has been discussing the impact of the NAR settlement, which takes effect on August 17th, and exploring strategies to support our agent partners' commissions on the buyer side of the brokerage. Today we'll dive into a solution we've developed to ensure buyers maintain their crucial representation during negotiations while you preserve your buyer's agent commissions. So let's jump right in. So let's say you've got a signed buyer's rep agreement saying you're going to be compensated 3% by your buyer. Your buyer calls you and they want to see a home that isn't offering a buyer's agent commission. So that's not super common right now, but in the future, this is going to be the buyer's agent challenge because your client wants to see a property and you want to get paid. I want you to know that we've got a solution. It doesn't work in every scenario, but it allows the most flexibility structuring the deal so the buyer is happy with your representation versus going to another buyer's agent, or worse, directly to the listing agent, which cuts you out of the deal completely. If they were to go to another agent, that would lead to all sorts of legal questions that none of us want to think about. So it's very important we partner together so the buyer's interests are protected as well as your income. Plus, if you have a lender partner that provides a workable solution, it makes you look even more professional, and it shows we're doing our part to help structure this to minimize the financial impact of these changes. So I want to go over the strategy here. We call it our commission gap strategy, and I want to show this to you in a way that hopefully makes sense. So what you're looking at are several different scenarios, and to start out I would like you to focus on the left-hand most column that says list price at the top of it. So this is the property that your buyer loves, and if they would have bought the property pre-NAR settlement, the seller would have paid the buyer's agent commission. So this is just your common way that the deal is structured today. But what happens in a post-NAR settlement world where your client loves the property, but there's no buyer's agent commission being offered by the seller? So this would be in column 2, and in this case you'll notice that the cost due at closing on that second column, which I have highlighted in yellow, increases by 3% to cover your commission. So they really like the property and they want to buy it. They've got a buyer's rep agreement signed with you that says they owe you 3%. The default answer out there is going to be, all right, well, I guess I'm increasing my cash to close by 3%. But that might not work for their budget, or they might not want to do that. So this is where your negotiating skills come into play. So the third column is where you negotiate with the seller to increase the sales price to build your 3% in, and notice that this dramatically lowers the buyer's cash to close, and it affects the monthly payment a little bit because of the higher purchase price. The higher purchase price is showed in yellow at the top of column 3. But here's the gotcha. You might say, okay, that's great that we increase the sales price to build the commission in, but what if it doesn't appraise for that higher amount? And this is where our commission gap strategy comes into play, and that's the far right column. So notice that in this hypothetical example, you are still buying the property for $721,000, but the appraisal misses and comes in at $680,000. Now that's a big miss, and so you might be thinking to yourself, oh my, the deal's over at this point because that's such a big difference. But notice how we've entered the commission gap strategy where we protect the buyer's interest rate, we protect their monthly payment. Yes, the cash to close changes a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily have to, because we can finance that commission gap into the loan amount if the client would like. Just as a side note, we've worked the commission gap strategy out for 1% and 2% gaps as well. Let me show you those briefly. The 1% gap is where your buyer's representation has 3%, but the seller is only willing to pay 2% of your commission. This third chart applies to the scenario where the seller is only willing to pay 1% of the buyer's agent commission. And I think you're going to see these scenarios be much more common, where a seller may agree to pay part of your commission, but not all of your commission. So these are valuable tools. So at the end of the day, you have all the tools at your disposal to help negotiate this. But it's imperative that we partner together on the front end while you're negotiating the contract to make sure that the financing can fit in to accomplish the things that you need it to. Now, one caveat: the commission gap strategy is intended for Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, not FHA, VA, or USDA, and works best for families that are putting down 10% or more. If they are putting the minimum down, there's just not enough dollars to implement the commission gap strategy. So this really is beneficial for people putting 10% down or more, but essentially more than the bare minimum. But this is a tool in our toolbox that we can use if necessary. It's not super common right now, but as time goes on, it could absolutely become more commonplace when we get back to multiple offers and bids over list price, just hoping to have the winning offer. I fear that a lot of sellers will adamantly refuse to offer any kind of buyer's agent commissions when they hold all the cards. That's not the market we're in right now. Right now, sellers are working with buyer's agents, but the future could hold something different. So we have to be ready with strategies that help keep the train on the tracks. And it's important that the buyer has a buyer's agent that has prepared themselves for the changes coming. If you have any questions or want to go through a real scenario versus the hypothetical one we just looked at, let me know. Just remember, these interest rates change every day and will absolutely be different every time we visit on this. Just use this as a guide for the strategy, not necessarily the specifics of your situation. Have yourself a great day.